Hello, everyone. You all get a Rivian. Yay! No, just kidding. Look under your chair. Big surprise. Did you know that was going to happen?
You did not tell me that.
We're here to talk about building tech that wins over customers. And a piece of tech can be a lot of different things. It can also be a car, and in the specific case of Rivian, a very specific vehicle that sort of landed and nailed like the lifestyle, I think, a little bit. But I want to go back before we talk about present and future. You joined Rivian in 2019. The vehicle had not even come out yet, right? 2 more years until the first EV, the truck, comes out and is delivered to customers. And from my perspective, someone who had been writing about it, it seemed like, wow, like you guys figured out who your customer was. There's all these cool, delightful things in it. People seem to love it. And then you like blew up the guts of it and decided to start over again, which is kind of crazy to me that you would do that. So will you please tell me why you completely stripped out and changed the vehicle architecture, really the guts of the vehicle and the software?
Actually, surprisingly, it's a decision that we were intentional about. It was not a pivot that we had to do at some point. It's one of those decisions where it's a matter of going slow initially so that we can go fast. Automotive and software, it's really a very complex system of systems. There's many computers in the car. There's many different functionalities, from functional safety systems to entertainment to autonomy. And we took the intentional step initially so that we build that internal knowledge. We build that internal stack, both hardware and software. And as we got our products to the field, as we felt comfortable with the quality, with the features, with the reception from customers, then we took that step where we're really removing the complexity from hardware. We're reducing the number of hardware units in the vehicle, and then we're moving that to software. So software now is dealing with general purpose compute in the car and is able to deliver same features, or actually more features, more performance, but based on a much more constrained hardware architecture.
So why couldn't you start with what this vehicle architecture is now? And for some folks who might not be like super in the weeds on this, it's basically completely changing the electrical architecture to be able to deliver faster, better software. Why couldn't you start there?
It really requires a much deeper knowledge around the overall software stack. It requires lots of complexity, and we were not ready to do it since day one. So we wanted first to build the foundations, get everything that we need so that we can scale that architecture in the future, as we're doing now, in a much more constrained environment.
Or if you could kind of rewind it, would you do it the same way again? Or would you, if you had been able to assemble the team that you wanted, or just start from where you are now? And really, for the founders in the room, I mean, it seems like this first step was maybe a necessary step, but certainly risky, expensive. It'd be great to skip to the next level, right?
Honestly, if I want to go back in time, I would have done it the same way. Like, if I look at where we are today at Rivian, we managed to get to a level where the software experience, the tech experience, is really redefining the ownership journey with our customers. And the key to do that is build step by step those technology foundations, but then most importantly, build a very talented team. We did not have a team on day one that would allow us to deliver such complex architectures. And I think in that thoughtful approach, where we knew which compromises we would do on day one, it allowed us today to gain so much velocity, so much speed, so that we deliver a unique experience to our customers, and we can iterate really fast in terms of improving that experience over time.
Well, talent you just mentioned, and you didn't quite have the right people or that skill set. And for founders in the room or anyone trying to build something from scratch, and a very expensive product, by the way, to build. Building a factory, I don't recommend it. It's very costly. So looking back now, What was it that you were lacking specifically, and where did you find these people to build the tech product that you wanted? Were you like out there just poaching from legacy automakers, or were you going into new and different places that maybe were more obscure?
It's a great question. I mean, we have been intentional to really have a very diversified talent base at Rivian. We have people from traditional automotive, and I have full respect for traditional automotive. There's lots of foundations around safety, around homologation, which are really important when you build a car. Similarly, we have people from disruptive or pure EV players, but then we have people coming from completely different background, people from tech companies, and it's really that mix of talent that allowed us to build the Rivian way. And like the way I tell my team, Rivian's answer to the problem doesn't need to be the same as others. We need to define our own way, and it's through that mix and variety of experiences and backgrounds of our talent that we're able to do that.
Well, you've worked at, Silver Spring Networks and I believe Intel. So what's the Rivian way that makes, the end product is what we see and what we've experienced? Like, how is it different from all these other companies you worked for?
I think it's really thinking about things from a first principle standpoint, which is we're trying to solve problems for our customers, but then the answer to those problems is not necessarily the same as what other automakers are doing. It's for every problem, whether it's a feature, whether it's a new design, whether it's an architecture, we need to think about it first principle. We need to think about it of, okay, what's our best answer to it? And if that answer is similar to what other companies are doing, great. But then in some cases, our answer needs to be different.
So we talked a little bit about how you started in one path and then internally and kind of ripped the guts out, redid the vehicle architecture, sort of went down to allow for this better software execution. And I'm wondering, do you think that customers notice a significant difference between what was initially laid out in Gen 1 and now the next gen, which, it's just for those who don't know, it's the same truck and SUV. Exterior-wise, it looks very similar, but there are some key differences. But couldn't you have just gone ahead and not done this other expensive, complete redo and just continued on with what you had?
Yeah, I mean, there's areas where the features and performance of our Gen 2 is really noticeable. I mean, the cameras are awesome on our Gen 2. The suite of sensors that we have is way better. The AI capabilities of the vehicle now are way better. And some of these are features which are not necessarily visible today, but will come to the future. But I think another way to think about it as well is beyond the cost reduction from a bill of materials standpoint that Gen 2 has enabled, beyond the efficiencies in manufacturing and serviceability of the vehicle that Gen 2 has enabled, it allowed us to set the foundations for a modern zonal architecture that we will use in our next generation, which is R2. And R2 is really the vehicle, I'm extremely excited about R2. I don't know if the audience, R2, R3X, which is just awesome. But all that technology that we now have built with R1, with the zonal architecture, with the software stack, we will be able to reuse that into those vehicles which will have a much broader customer access because they are at a lower price point.
Is it fair to say then that the change that you made, while kind of arduous and challenging and expensive probably, was existential to Rivian? If you hadn't done it, that R2, R3, not that it wouldn't exist, but it wouldn't potentially, be attracted by customers?
100%, 100%. To make an R2 or R3 at a competitive price point, we had to go through the journey of simplifying the network architecture in the vehicle and then reducing the overall number of computers which are in the vehicle. Also, I think the other aspect is gaining that ability to propose end-to-end experiences by integrating different pieces of hardware and software functionalities and being able to bring that refined, connected experience to vehicles like R2 and R3 at a lower price point. This is where there's a massive opportunity for the company.
When you were in those early days of really thinking through what this next gen was going to be, there was an opportunity to go a lot of different directions. To build everything in-house, for instance, you could do that. You could have also gone the way which you didn't, which is to do Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Were there ever any internal disagreements on doing that? Or not doing that, I should say?
It's a topic that we continue to debate till now.
Okay. Explain.
So I think, first of all, let me explain our philosophy. I really believe that a great software solution should marry and interconnect with other products from the ecosystem. And this is why we have integrated, for example, products from Apple with Apple Music. We have integrated products from Google, and we have partnerships that I cannot yet talk about, but it's really bringing those individual products into a curated experience that we provide to our customers. CarPlay is a question that gets asked a lot by our customers, and really the reason we are not moving with CarPlay is the fact that CarPlay takes over all the pixels in the screen, and it's a replacement of the entire experience. And we truly believe that with the technology capabilities that we have, we can offer a much more refined, integrated experience, not just between the infotainment screen, but then all the vehicle controls, the way the vehicle drives, the way the vehicle does energy management, battery management. And I think going the CarPlay route would have been laziness from us, because it would have basically resulted in Rivian not doing things first principle and defining our own way in terms of proposing something really unique to customers.
What do you say then to other legacy automakers that are using CarPlay? GM has, stepped away from that, and people have a lot of opinions about it. Why are they or why do they need to keep CarPlay and Android Auto, and should they be stepping away from it?
I mean, first of all, this is brands' decisions, and I think brands and OEMs would define themselves differently, and I fully respect different choices from the different automakers. That being said, I think really the key background to your question is the role that software plays now in automotive. With technologies like electrification, like connectivity, like autonomy, there's an increasing software complexity in the car. And I think the customer expectations now are very different. Customers are looking for a refined experience. I get a lot of comments from social where customers sometimes they want to have one less click on the car. We are of that level of expectations from customers where they get really excited because we changed some icons, or we made a UI look nicer, or we delivered an Easter egg in the screen that they can find with their kids. So the consumers now are having very different expectations, and it's really software which is powering that new experience.
A moment ago, you talked about how we were talking about the decision to whether to go all in and build everything yourself, and then you did mention some partners, Google being one of them, Apple being the other. And what were the other partners that you said you were working with?
Not yet. I cannot.
No one here is listening. Well, maybe give us
next
a hint.
time.
Okay. Well, maybe give us a hint. When you talk about partners, are you talking about potential application partners, or at the fundamental level of some other service? I mean, one thing that keeps popping up that a lot of automakers are getting into is ChatGPT, and I have my thoughts about it. Is there a place in the Rivian software experience for a ChatGPT type of product?
If I step back, I think as it relates to ChatGPT or AI in general, I really believe that AI will be everywhere. AI will be pervasive in every product that we use in our daily life. Now, AI will be in the car, and I think the car is actually a fantastic environment for AI. The reason I think about it that way is I think one of the biggest challenges for AI is having an end-to-end latency and performance where you truly have that conversational experience and that exchange. And yes, we're doing way better with inference chips on the cloud to get to a higher performance. But the car offers us an environment where we can actually have that compute on the edge. And that can offer a much more seamless experience for the drivers. The other thing is, if we actually had the right technology today, your way of interacting with the car would have been through voice. Because when you're driving, you actually want to focus on the road, and ideally, you would not want to touch the screen. The fact that we're touching the screen or the fact that we're using buttons today in some cars, I think it's an anomaly, it's a bug, it's not a feature. Ideally, you would want to interact with your car through voice. And the problem today is that most voice assistants are just broken, they don't work. And this is where AI can really unlock and enable very different experiences in the car.
So today, the voice assistant I believe that Rivian uses is Alexa, right? And I've used Alexa, and I've been in Mercedes, I yell at them all. There's not a good one out there. I don't know. So how soon will we get to a point where I will get in a Rivian, we'll use Rivian and put you on the spot for this one, and I'm not yelling at the car? Like, when is that going to happen?
We're working on it. Actually, every weekend I'm driving an engineering build with that AI-powered voice assistant. But I think the moment we will release it to the general public will be when we meet a certain quality bar. And the way I define that quality bar is, one, the right level of performance and latency. Two, it's really seamless end-to-end integration, because I really deeply believe that we're talking a lot about LLMs today and foundational model. The killer app for AI is really on how you integrate it with the rest of your applications and how you use rich data, such as what we have in our Rivian vehicles. And then the third requirement is reliability. We would like to introduce AI once we feel comfortable that we have the right level of safety, that there's not hallucinations, because that may erode customer trust. Mm-hmm. And I think once we reach those requirements, then we'll feel comfortable that we can introduce the product to our customers.
So do you see that, though, as something that you will work with a partner like Alexa, which is an Amazon product and a major, shareholder of Rivian? Or is this something that actually Rivian wants to take on?
It's a great question. I think for our founders audience here, it's the classic make, buy, or integrate. And I think in this case, we did have that reflection, that debate internally. There's no need for us to develop our own foundational model. Eventually, I really think that foundational models will catch up to each other. I think where we can add value is, one, in having an architecture that is modular and where we can plug and play different foundational models and we can work with different partners to have competition. And two, it's really in the end-to-end integration with the applications and the data. It's really about, this is where we want to focus our effort, because this is what will make the difference in terms of the experience to customers. Mm-hmm.
We're talking about partners, and there is a partnership that is actually pretty lucrative for Rivian, and I'm talking about the joint venture that was announced earlier this year with VW. My understanding is that today in their earnings, they did, set out a timeline and have confirmed that this is expected to close by the end of this year. And there is some big dollars involved. It's potentially $5 billion. So I understand why Rivian said, yes, let's do this, but it's around software. And you are about to engage in a partnership to help VW build a product that people will love and not loathe on the software level. And it's a 650,000 person company. So, are you nervous? And can you do it?
I'm excited. I'm excited because I really think that this is a partnership that can transform the automotive industry. I mean, Kirsten, you were very familiar with the auto space, with the software solutions or the lack of software solutions in the auto space. I really think that this partnership, one, will provide Rivian with the scale and then the backing of a big strategic group and then the financial tailwind so that we continue developing that competitive technology stack. But eventually, I see us delivering the operating system for the automotive world. And that's extremely exciting because, one, it's monetization opportunities for Rivian in terms of using and licensing that software solution to other OEMs. And two, it's a fantastic acceleration for our mission. The fact that we can use our software, our technology, so that we can get more EVs on the road. I mean, this is what we're here for. So if we can accelerate the transition of the world to sustainable transportation, that's a fantastic motivation, and this is really what makes me extremely excited with this partnership.
How is it Rivian's mission, though, to be essentially a supplier of operating systems to automotive? I mean, that seems very different from what I think of when I think of Rivian.
Rivian is a technology company, and RJ has been extremely intentional since day one to really build the company around vertical integration and really making the pieces that matter. And I think in some of the pieces that matter, technology and software and our electronics is one of the most important assets. And I think this is really just a continuation of that vision, which is, if we look today in the Western Hemisphere, there's really two good software and technology solutions. There's Rivian and there's Tesla. And I think Rivian having that possibility to work with partners, work with the larger ecosystem, and help the world transition more quickly to EVs, and from there have new revenue streams and new licensing models, that's extremely exciting. That's a great return on that intentional investment that RJ has done since day one.
Obviously, there's a big financial component to this. And so I could see why, like I said earlier, Rivian said yes. But isn't there a downside to it that it's a potential distraction to delivering the products that you want? I mean, let's walk through it. You've got the next gen R1S and R1T, but it's really critical, A, that customers love that and they continue to buy it. And now you're getting ready for R2, which is a couple of years away, and then R3, which is the vehicle I'm most interested in. Isn't it a potential distraction to that, to do this other thing with another company, potentially a competitor?
It's actually, I think it's opening it up for a greater opportunity. I mean, this partnership will come with additional funding, additional hiring that we will do to expand the team and be able to really work on those different products. And actually, I see it in some cases an acceleration for R2, R3 in the sense that some of the features, for example, that we need for Europe or other international markets will be able to get through this joint venture. I think the other piece which is really important is even as we have this joint venture and partnership, the goal there is to deliver an operating system, deliver a reference design. But everything else in terms of the UI, in terms of the visual identity, in terms of the brand identity, in terms of really the playful features. I mean, some of you, if you are Rivian customers, like things like Gear Guard, things like Camp Mode, things like Halloween, which is now the season, all that will remain Rivian specific. And I think Rivian's approach is direct to customer. Rivian's approach is really focused on that customer obsession, and that will continue.
Mm-hmm. Should I be thinking about, I should say, we're going to open up to questions right after this. So if you want to ask a question, please line up. and then say who you are when you do ask a question. But one quick follow-up. Should I view Rivian down the line, like potentially 5 years down the line, as having another business unit within the company that is sort of delivering these operating systems to other companies?
Correct.
Not just VW, to be clear.
Absolutely. That's the North Star. That's the vision, which is really being a solution provider and a software provider for the automotive industry and other transportation or IoT businesses.
So what's the automaker you really want to be as the next Rivian customer then?
We can discuss it maybe next year.
Next year. All right. And one last follow-up. What about Scout? Because that's under the VW brand. So should we expect Rivian software to be as part of the DNA of Scout?
As I said, the platform, the operating system, will eventually be part of the Scout product, similar to other products from the VW brands, whether it's Porsche, whether it's Bentley, Lamborghini, or VW. Now, again, each brand will continue to have their own identity. Each brand will continue to have their own features. And I guess what's behind the question, Kirsten, is, okay, we're enabling competition. I really think competition is great. I mean, the fact that Scout came with vehicles that are close to Rivian DNA, I mean, that's fantastic. It's a great validation of the Rivian product, and having more choices for customers is great. We need to see more EVs on the road.
Great. All right, when you ask your questions, let's try to keep questions short and answer short so we can get through as many people as possible. Sure. Why don't you start?
Hi, thanks for the talk. I'm building an AI car diagnostic company, so that's the question is around that because recently Tesla released in the earnings call that they are working on the remote diagnostic, pulling information from sensor and ECUs, and then making sure the mechanics or technicians, I guess that's the word, to fix the car without having to diagnose. I'm just curious whether Rivian is ready for that level of like STB and then pulling all this information and being able to remote diagnose and also do all the procedures just like how Tesla is doing.
Yeah, great question. So really, if you look at cloud, it's a very important foundation of the overall Rivian connected architecture. Like sometimes I tell my team it's as important as the embedded software on the vehicle. We already use the cloud, obviously for over-the-air updates, so making the vehicle better and better over time, downloading OTAs, but then we use it also for telemetry, which is getting data from the vehicle, and that helps us have an accurate representation of any potential bugs or opportunities to improve reliability, improve performance. And we use it already for remote diagnostic. Now, to your question, AI will help us accelerate and transform that experience, which is instead of having a service technician today log to their laptop and then remotely see what's happening on a car, eventually my vision is I'd like to build an AI solution where the car itself will tell you that there's a problem, will send the information to us, or even better, the car should predict when a problem would happen and then should automatically book a service appointment for the customer. That's really the end vision. And with such rich data, similar to what we have in the Rivian vehicles, I really believe that that's possible.
Awesome.
Great.
And order parts too, right? Thanks. Anyways.
All right, thanks. There you go.
Hi, my name is Sina, and I'm with Rico USA. Rivian actually has some of our equipment, but my question's about cybersecurity. What are some of the unique challenges for tackling cybersecurity with Rivian, considering things like ransomware attacks or denial of service attacks?
Yeah, I mean, as we build such complex architectures, we're increasing the surface of connectivity on the vehicle. I mean, the vehicle is constantly connected to the cloud, and that makes us really extremely intentional about the types of security solution that we put in place. We have a mix of hardware, software protections. Security is absolutely top of mind for us. I think the other considerations, which is extremely important for us, is privacy, because we collect data from the car, but we want to do it in a way where we respect users' privacy. We want that to be aggregated and anonymized, and that's the way we can build trust with our customers.
Okay. One more, quick.
My name is Olaf. I'm a mobility-focused VC. My question is with respect to China. So Chinese OEMs have really fast upside cycles. If you ask Jim Farley, the CEO of Ford, it seems like he prefers driving Chinese cars now. They've come really well forward. Do you think Rivian would be in deep trouble without protectionist policies? And what are you learning specifically? Are you watching Chinese OEMs closely, and are you learning important questions, for instance, how to have faster update cycles on vehicle software? Like, what are your takeaways there?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, China, to be completely fair, there's a number of OEMs in China who are developing great solutions. And I think in what is called SDV, I don't necessarily love that term, but the Chinese OEM have really done a great job. And I think they have solutions, whether it's in terms of connected car or autonomy, which are really compelling. Now, are we afraid? No, because I think part of really Rivian strength is also that intimate understanding of our customers. And this is not something that Chinese or external brands can compete with it.
All right, thank you so much. I'm sorry to say that we're way over time, but thank you again, and thank you, Wassym, for joining us.
Thank you.